Okay, guys, I apologize. I don't know what happened. Apparently, the video cut off halfway through, but you guys do have page 651, so I'm going to redo page 652. I'm so excited to do this again. Okay, just kidding. Do anything. All right, number 8. A quadrilateral has exactly 2 congruent sides. Which quadrilateral types could it be, and which quadrilateral types could it not be? So I'm going to put a check mark here to tell you what quadrilateral types it could be. So this is very not specific, so don't think too far into this. It tells you it has exactly 2 congruent sides. It doesn't talk about parallel sides. It doesn't talk about angles, nothing. So in all honesty, this could be a trapezoid, or it could be a quadrilateral. Again, don't think too far into this because it's very non-specific. You don't want to overthink this one. That means that this can't be a parallelogram. It can't be a rectangle. It can't be a rhombus. And it can't be a square. Okay? So don't overthink that one. Now, number 9. This will link you to your Math on the Spot video. Watch that video. Either scan that with your tablet or your phone, any device, and it'll pop that video up on your screen for you, or just log into the Think Central platform, and you can find that video on there, but watch it. And he'll go over this a little bit more in depth. So it says a quadrilateral has exactly 3 congruent sides. Okay, that number 3 should throw you off automatically when we're talking about quadrilaterals, okay? Because quadrilaterals have, like, quad means 4. So everything we talk about means 4. Okay, so you see 3 and that should just be an alert for you. So Davis claims that the figure must be a rectangle. Why is his claim incorrect? Use a diagram to explain your answer. All right, hang on one second because I already set this aside. Okay. Rectangle. There it is. Opposite sides are congruent, 4 right angles. So when we're doing this, if I'm going to draw something with congruent sides, 3 of them. Okay, there I go. I drew one congruent side. I drew another congruent-ish side. There we go. That looks a little bit better. There's another congruent side. Well, if I want to draw another congruent side, it's going to have to come out a little bit. And then, well, I have a trapezoid with a right angle down here on the side. It's unavoidable. You draw a trapezoid with 3 congruent sides. It's all you can draw. Well, what if I drew a nice straight line down here on the bottom? Then I want to draw my 3 congruent sides. Well, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3 congruent sides. I did it again. I drew a trapezoid. You're going to draw a trapezoid every single time you do this, okay? So he's wrong because in a quadrilateral with exactly 3 congruent sides, you're going to get one of 2 things here, okay? Either the non-congruent side isn't parallel to its opposite side, and there is one right angle. That's what we did in the first one. If we would have gone straight up, you would have had 4 congruent sides. So like right here, that one had to slant out like that, because if you would have gone straight up and then you'd have gone straight over, then you would have ended up with 4 congruent sides. So you could have slanted in or you could have slanted out, but either way, you had to slant that third side in order for that fourth side to not be congruent with the other 3 sides. So the 3 sides can be congruent, but then you end up with that one right angle, just that plain right angle, and then that opposite side can't be parallel to the side with the right angle. So you end up with that, or like our second one, or you end up with a trapezoid, or you end up with a trapezoid with no right angles. You get one of 2 of those things. So no matter what, if you have exactly 3 congruent sides, you're going to get some type of uneven shape like that. Okay? Number 10 says the opposite corners of a quadrilateral are right angles. Okay? Opposite corners, quadrilateral, right angles. Quadrilateral is not a rhombus. What kind of quadrilateral is this figure? Explain how you know. I know you're thinking immediately, okay, right angles, it could be 2 things. Wrong. It cannot be a square. Why? Because a square is a rhombus, okay? Square is a rhombus, so it can't be a square, all right? Even though the square has the right angles on opposite sides, can't be a square because a square is considered a rhombus because of the 4 equal sides and the opposite angles being the same. So there's only one other shape that it could possibly be, and that is a rectangle. All right, that is a rectangle. All right, how do I know this? Well, a rectangle, you have with right angles in, let's say, on opposite corners, the figure can only have 4 right angles. Okay, so that means because 2 of them are already right angles, because it says already, it tells us there's 2, the other 2 have to be right angles. So you already know from that clue that there are going to be 4 right angles in that shape. All right. But we also know that it can't be a square because it's not a rhombus. So the only possible shape left over from that is the rectangle. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and start erasing from up here. Hopefully we can move on. And all my videos save this time. That's all right. I will make you guys videos for days. Don't you worry. All right. Let's see. We'll do numbers 11 and 12 as soon as I can scroll down here. Okay. Number 11. It says, I'm a figure with 4 sides. I can be placed in the following categories: quadrilateral, trapezoid, parallelogram, rectangle, rhombus, and square. Draw me and explain why I fit in all 4 of those categories. Well, there's only one thing this can be. It has to be a square. I know this is a square because I'm going to show you my 4 equal sides and 4 right angles. Okay? That's a square. It has to be a square because it fits into every single category. We always start with the very specific shape that it is. Okay? And we will start with square. I know that it's a square. Okay? Because it has 4 congruent sides and 4 right angles. Okay, that makes it a square. We see that 4 congruent sides, 4 right angles. Well, I also know that this shape is a rhombus because all sides are congruent. Okay, I see that. All sides are congruent. And my opposite angles are congruent. Okay. Now, all the angles are congruent, but what's important for a rhombus is that the opposite angles are congruent. Okay. Now, I know that this is also a rectangle because opposite sides are congruent. Okay, opposite sides are congruent. Now, all 4 sides are congruent, which is what makes it a square. But when you look at this, opposite sides are congruent, so that makes it a rectangle. And there are still 4 right angles, which is what makes this a rectangle specifically. I know that this is a parallelogram because there are 2 pairs of parallel sides. Okay, each of the opposite sides run parallel to each other, so that makes sense. And again, opposite sides are congruent. I know that this is a trapezoid. Sorry, pen is lagging again, so it's hard to see what I'm writing. I know that this is a trapezoid because there's at least 1 pair of parallel sides. You can see as I'm getting further from the specifics, I'm getting further away from the specifics of that square, okay? And then I know that this is a quadrilateral because it's a 4-sided figure. There we go. So as we moved up our ranks, you saw that the characteristics of the square we got a little bit further away from those, but the square fits all of those characteristics. So it falls within everything. Okay. Now, number 12, you have to fill in the blanks. A blank is sometimes a square. So you know just by looking at number 11, a rhombus is sometimes a square. Okay, there it is. A rhombus is considered a square sometimes. All right. A blank is always a rectangle. Well, if you look above rectangle, you see a square is always going to be considered a rectangle, okay, because opposite sides are congruent, 4 right angles, it makes sense. And then a parallelogram is always a what? A parallelogram is always a trapezoid. Why? Because all of these shapes are always a trapezoid. They all have at least one pair of parallel sides. That's what makes them part of this group. Okay? So now I know that I'm trying to remember what I said before that would have been cut out of the video. Your assignment for day 4 is pages 653 to 654 in your book. Okay, so get that done. And then you have today a neat little assignment. You are going to be classifying quadrilaterals and doing a color by number. It says to classify it by its most specific name, okay? So look at the figure over here. Find its most specific name, whichever one you choose. Like if you choose A, then you're going to use the color blue. If you choose B, then you're going to choose color gray. If you choose C, then you're going to choose color yellow, so on and so forth. Okay? That's front and back, so there are 6 questions. Mine's just on separate pieces of paper because I don't have the original. Or I have the original, you don't. You have the copy, and I made yours front and back. And then on a separate sheet of paper is your color by number, so you didn't have to keep flipping over. And so relax today, do some coloring. As soon as you figure all these out, color this in, and try and have a nice rest of your day. If you have any questions, message me on Schoology, message me on Class Dojo, whatever you need. And guys, today there is a discussion board on Schoology for you to send me some suggestions. Read over the discussion board. Absolutely not required. I am just looking for some fun activities that you and I can do together throughout these next couple of weeks. This is all in indefinite amounts of time. So I want to make sure that we are making the most of it. And if you have some cool ideas, I have some great ideas. I want to hear what you guys have to say. So shoot me a message. Or not shoot me a message, but participate in that discussion board on Schoology for me. It's in the math course under the black folder for the math packet. And then it's just, I think it's right here. Yep, there you go. What do you want to see? So participate in that for me, and let me see some of your ideas, and we'll see what we can do. Okay, you guys have a good rest of your day.